two drunk dudes in a gun room, man. I hope this weekend y'all drank enough to where you're seeing two of us, since there's just one of me. But that's all right, man. So tonight we've got a special guest. We've got Ace from Bulletproof Podcast. She has got 7 search and rescue certifications, 17 law enforcement certifications, 23 certifications for homeland security, and I'm feeling safe already. 13 mental health certifications, and former missing persons incident commander for national nonprofit. I need to reach out for her anyways because I believe my ducks are definitely missing because they're definitely not in a row no more. So let's go and bring on Ace from Bulletproof Podcast. What's going on, Ace?
Hey, John Groom Radio listeners. Thanks for tuning in tonight.
No problem, no problem. So, man, when have you had time to get all these certificates, man? I got worn out just saying all of them.
You know, it's funny. People have so many different ways to take care of themselves, to do self care. Like, some girls go and they get their hair done, or they get their nails done, or, some people go to the spa, or, they go to the range or something like that. But for me, I really enjoy learning something new. So it's not work for me when I learn something new. It's just exciting. I get to experience something new, I get to learn something new and level up to elevate myself, and it's my version of taking care of myself. So I enjoy it.
Yeah, absolutely. Going through some of these certificates, some of them kind of interested me as well too. Especially the STAR type certificates, man. Some of those kind of take me back to the military days.
Yeah. Well, when I was a little kid, when I was 8 years old, excuse me, I was almost kidnapped, and then I was almost kidnapped again when I was 22. So I've always felt this deep rooted need to try to save people or to try to help people. So I was always really, really interested in many different facets of search and rescue, specifically the more psychological side of it, which is lost person behavior and different kinds of unconventional forms of search and rescue as well. So that's sort of what got me going down that path.
It's funny you say that because I don't think until that movie Sounds of Freedom, I don't think people really, and I don't even know that they're still really aware of how serious and how real human trafficking is. Because I know even through the military, they it was one of those classes they just kind of breezed over, and they take it a little bit more serious in the trucking world because they do kind of take for granted that they're out there on the road so much and that they're seeing a lot more type stuff. So we all did in our windows that said a safe place you could come to for help and so forth, and that's when I got my eyes open to how much human trafficking is going on out there. And I haven't seen that movie yet, but it is a real, and it's not always just people out there that are kidnapping people because they're sick and crazy. There is a trade, and it is a business.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm a certified volunteer with Operation Underground Railroad that the movie Sound of Freedom is about. And I signed an NDA with them, so I can't get into, all the specifics of how the organization works, but human trafficking comes in so many different facets. To a lot of people, it sounds like this boogeyman term where it happens in, it must happen in only the inner city or in, some third world country. But the fact of the matter is that human trafficking is happening in every single town, in wealthy towns, in poor towns. It attracts every single type of demographic and socioeconomic status. It breaches across gender roles. It happens to women, it happens to men, it happens to children, it happens to teen girls, to teen boys. And technology has only facilitated this dark industry. You know, the United States is the number one consumer of, you know, pornographic material with children under the ages of 18. And it's the number 3 country in the entire world for human trafficking. And these human trafficking rings and networks, they're like a large spider web wrapped around the entire world, where these networks that are formed within the United States connect to networks as far as, Amsterdam. And children, boys and girls of all ages, are bought, they're sold, they're used, they can be used 30 times a day compared to like a kilo of cocaine, that can be sold once. These children are sold 30 times a day. And when they're done with them, a lot of them are either, their organs are harvested and then sold on the black market, or some of them are forced into, other kinds of labor, or they then become the scouts that go out there and try to find, new batches of children to continue the dark business. So it's
Yeah.
pretty.
And I know the US government doesn't, they say they don't condone it, and they're not a part of it, but I can speak from what I've seen, and at the time I didn't realize it as much as I do now. But I was stationed in Qatar, and we had local nationals that worked on our base, and I didn't know it, until I became their supervisor. But I had different ethnicities doing the same jobs. I had some Filipino mechanics, I had some Indian mechanics, I had several different ethnicities. They were all mechanics, but they didn't all get paid the same. They were paid based off of looks, right?
Mhm.
And their living conditions were different, you know. And as I started discovering, if you were Indian, the Qatars and the contracting companies put you in houses where basically you were hot. You shared a bed where somebody worked nights and you worked days, and the living conditions were shit, and the higher up the social class you got, the more money and the better the living conditions. And so, the government can say what they want. We created that um, that demand for cheap labor, and the contractors provided it, and we basically didn't make any difference. So at that rate, of course, these companies went to these other countries and just grabbed up people that would go and work, not knowing what they're getting into. So
Yeah.
it may have been the exact same thing, but the same things was happening, in the Korean regions, the juicy bars and stuff like that as well. So
Yeah, a lot in Southeast Asia. And people don't realize what's happening, right here in our backyard. I had Victor Avila on the show, and Victor was an ICE investigator, a Border Patrol agent. And basically, what happened was his partner, Jaime Zapata, was ambushed and killed in Mexico. They made documentaries about it. He wrote a book about it. He's running for United States Congress, and he tells stories now about how there's 85,000 migrant children that have vanished into thin air. They can't find them. They have been, shuffled around, and people are saying, they're coming over the border. They have a tag on them that says, "Oh, I need to go to, Bob Smith in St. Louis, Missouri." So they send him to Bob Smith in St. Louis, Missouri. They call him, "Hey, Bob Smith, is this your kid? Okay, cool." And they send him off. And, these children aren't being accounted for. And many of them are also popping up in forced labor in meatpacking plants all across the United States, because human trafficking and human smuggling is them just coming over the border, but the trafficking is force, fraud, or coercion. So it's not just the sex trade. A lot of them, like you said, are, going into forced labor situations where If they don't, like Victor Avila said, if they don't make a certain amount of money, meaning they owe the cartels. So if they come over here and they're working for the cartel in a forced labor situation, and the cartel says, okay, you're going to pay me $1,600 a month. And if you don't, I'm going to kill your entire family back in, whatever country they came from. So it's really dark.
Yeah, and they're in a no-win situation because their living conditions there, are basically at some point they're going to die anyways. So
Yeah.
they're leaving out of desperation in a situation that's probably not going to be promising to begin with.
And the dark part of it is that when you have so many people coming over the border at once, besides the whole sleeper cell factor, when you have so many people coming over and there aren't enough jobs, or there isn't enough food, or there isn't enough housing, just basic human needs to meet their needs, what would somebody do in order to sustain the life of themselves and their children? They're going to do anything. They're going to work for the cartel selling drugs. They're going to get into trafficking rings. They're going to get into the dark underbelly of society to survive, because that's the innate survival instinct that's inside of all of us.
Yep. And I'm definitely not a political person, and I don't get into it, but we created that environment that encouraged them to come over. Whether you go back into other campaigns or you talk about our current administration, we everything we've done has led up to this moment where it has brought these people here, and we haven't done anything to be proactive, um, to stop. The border has been an ongoing argument between our government, between our sides for years through multiple administrations. So to have that going on and then having this many people come across to where we still don't have an infrastructure for them, they can't legally work. So instead of trying to control them, they start getting really strict on businesses to prevent them from hiring them, which then, just like you said, forces them to either have to work illegally or do something in the crime world to put food on the table and keep the families alive where they owe the money to. So they're not doing anything I wouldn't do.
And it's like, I completely agree with you. It's like Pitbull said, politics or politics. You can't, I don't align myself with any specific, political anything right now, because there's no clear good side, because you have rhinos, you have far left, you have far right, it's just like the world has gone mad and the world has gone crazy. But from a human rights standpoint, you have to look at public health. We have tuberculosis coming over the border. We have scabies coming over the border. We have malaria coming over the border. It's, this is basic human stuff that we need to think about, and then these families are going into the school systems, they're riding buses, they're going into the train system, into the subway system, onto trains. And so any sort of public health crisis that happens in, New York City is going to eventually make its way across the entire continental United States.
Yeah, absolutely. And you said it best. I'm probably my saying is I tell everybody I'm politically homeless. You know, I don't I don't have a dog in the fight on either side because I piss on both sides. But at the end of the day, this situation is also helping divide this country. You look at some of the things they're using human beings to piss off each other. You know, um, taking and sending people to Martha Stewart's vineyard, you know, was a disgrace. As a person, they knew what they were doing. They knew what was going to happen if people got off the bus. They were going to be shipped somewhere else again. They knew that wasn't. And what ended up happening? They got shipped to a military installation. You know, and
Yeah, and
it's not right.
did you ever hear that quote from Mark Twain about the ant?
Uh-uh.
There's this quote from Mark Twain that I was thinking about today where it's like if you have a jar and you build a little ant habitat inside of a big jar, right? And you put a whole bunch of fire ants in it and then you put a whole bunch of black ants in it and you close the lid. The fire ants and the black ants will live in complete harmony with each other, sharing the habitat and everything will be totally normal. But if somebody shakes the jar, they'll immediately think that the other species of ants was the one that disrupted their peace, and it'll cause complete annihilation within the jar, and they'll wipe each other out completely. So it's like I feel like with what's going on in America right now, I feel like somebody shook the jar. And not just in America, even the whole world, somebody shook the jar, and it's, one month it's that person's the enemy, or this person's the enemy, or they're the enemy, or that political party's the enemy, or that country's the enemy, that religion's the enemy. And now that the jar is shaken, everything is just, annihilating itself within the jar.
Man, it is so funny that you just said that because you just put so many pieces together for me. So another podcast that I watch I watch the Joe Rogan show, and another one I don't miss it just about every episode I watch is the Sean Ryan show.
Oh, I love that show.
And Sean had a guy on, I can't remember his name, but he talked about um the uh these farms overseas. They're cell phone farms, and all they do is they've set up all these fake accounts on social media, and all they do is go into um, different pages and different groups, and they take opposite sides to create arguments. You know,
Ooh,
and they said they literally when they found these, they're rooms with stations like cubicles. Like
yeah,
they're like 20,000 square foot rooms with not computers. Each cubicle just has like several cell phones that somebody sits there and just operates 5 or 6 different accounts off of 5 or 6 different cell phones. And it's just a 20,000 square foot room filled with people in there. Just,
that's so tough.
I mean, so you think about the one thing that ties. So, you take the internet and that's the jar. And then you've got all the people in it that are living in harmony, and these people that are going in and are on both sides. They're anti-gay, and they're for gay, they're anti-abortion, they're for abortion, they're everything. They're Russian disinformation, they're liberal, they're right, they're on both sides on every single argument, and they're just going into different pages and taking the opposite side of what that page is, just to create and shake that jar,
Yeah, they're poking.
and it just keeps everybody arguing.
It's crazy. Well, because I think it's kind of a distraction technique too. Look over here, not over there, because when everybody's fighting, it's really easy. Let's say, let's say you have a family, right? And you're having a family reunion, and all the family's coming over, and they're having some big dinner, and all of a sudden, a fight breaks out where the family is now having this big fight inside of the house over something stupid, religion, politics, whatever. And the fight becomes so raucous that they don't hear that someone slipped in the back door with an AK or something, right? So, kind of like the same theory that, the look over here, not over there.
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely. you know and I've always said it too, and it's another thing that I always kind of thought about with this radio station and this nonprofit that I'm setting up. I've always kind of felt like the internet has really just gone down the wrong road. We've allowed it to get so big and out of control for so long, that now there's just no putting it back in the box, you know. And like you was talking about the porn and everything else is available, and it's now gotten so big that you can't even keep it away from your kids. No matter what you do, no matter how good you are, it's still going to get to your whether it be from a friend at school phone or somebody else. You know, they're going to see it some way somehow, and there's just no putting it back in the box anymore. And it's good to see people taking that media and turning it into a good thing and using it for what it should be used for. And I think we took that knowledge and we used it for the wrong purposes. And I think that's where a lot of the AI stuff is coming from, a lot of the fear about AI. And I kind of was on that boat for a minute too until I started playing with some of the different AI type stuff out there. And man, I see it could easily go down one road, but there is so many positive possibilities for it, you know, that would be great and do great things for people.
It's crazy because I feel like everything has a dark or light or good or evil side because you have the internet is kind of like Pandora's box, but then you see our group of people like military broadcast radio, gunroom radio, hero stock, contagion effect, every day's a Saturday, tree of valor, Shannon book music, Derek, everybody. And we're all trying to use it for good. We're all trying to help out. We're all trying to, help veterans, help Americans, help first responders, be positive, share things, be a community. But then when you look at something like AI, I have so much to say about AI. But one of the reasons why I use this avatar when I'm doing a live video is because certain applications now, like Zoom, have it written in their contract in really tiny letters in their contracting that's like 20 pages long. Somewhere in there it says your voice, your image, your video, you're allowing us to use your image in the form of an AI and to doctor your video in any way in the future from here on out. Think about that. Think about this video that we're making right now, sometime in the future being manipulated by AI to change the things that I said in this video, the things that you said in this video, the way that you looked in the video, your actual body saying something totally that you didn't say. So it's like it can be used for good or it can be totally weaponized against people.
Yeah. I mean, that's already happening. You know, Joe Rogan, and it's funny. I guess he just has gotten to the point where he accepts it and he laughs about it now. But he'll tell you there's so many products out there that he's advertising that he's never even done the commercial for, never even talked to the people. And there's full commercials on the internet of him. It's his voice. It's stuff, but he never authorized it. He never nothing. And all they did was they took a section from his podcast and captured a section of his voice, and they created a deep fake of his body. And he said if you look close, you can tell the emotions are a little bit off, you know, but the fakes are getting really, really close.
Yeah, the deep fakes. Did you see that deep fake recently where they were reinstating the draft? Did you see that one?
Whether what?
Where they were reinstating the draft, where it was like a presidential address reinstating the draft. Did you see that?
I have not.
It's so real. It's so realistic. It's a deep fake, and it tricked a lot of people. People started to freak out, like, oh my God, they're reinstating the draft, which is rumored to possibly happen eventually again. But yeah, some of the deep fakes, you have to watch for those micro emotions. You have to watch so carefully now in order to detect it.
Yep. And that's the side of AI that I see the bad side of it coming. You're not going to stop. It will happen. You know that people are going to use it for the bad stuff. You know.
Yeah.
I mean,
And CGI, that's a whole other ball of wax.
a lot of people don't know this, but that's it's not AI, but that was really the whole reason why sexual abuse laws were rewrote, was because of people that were going in and creating videos with underage kids that weren't real. They were fake, you know, graphically created videos, you know. And so when they tried to bust them, at the time the laws didn't talk about, you know, watching underage kids having sex that were not real. And so they
Have you seen some of those apps where it scans your face? Half of the screen you're very young, and then the other half you look like a young child or something like that. Have you seen that?
Yep, I have.
Yeah, those are really freaky.
I agree.
So, yeah, it's, you know, right now it's the political upheaval is going on in America, it's going on overseas. Then we have a food crisis, we have food plants burning down, we have train derailments, we have border security, we have the power grid, we have, mass shootings, all this crazy stuff. And people are just trying to, buy groceries and have a good time when the world is, caving in.
I agree. I absolutely agree. And that's another reason why I don't dig into politics and get into debates on, what our government's doing and everything else, because I think both sides are full of shit. And I'm not going to get into an argument on and try to stand up for one asshole to argue that the other asshole is wrong when both of them are assholes. I mean,
Yeah, it's like, yeah, how are you going to yell at a Democratic administration, but then be like, "Oh, Governor Abbott, he's cool, but he's a Republican that left his border wide open." So it's like, yeah, of course you can have plenty of things to say about, a certain political party, which, I'll complain about both in my personal life, but, you have to, if you're going to be critical about what's happening, you have to be at least an open-minded critical and see fault where fault lies.
yeah. And it's a damn shame because this country used to be to the point where you could carry on a conversation, you could agree to disagree, and still be friends and walk away. And fuck, now divorces are happening over it, and people that had been friends for 35 years quit talking to each other, and brothers don't even talk to each other no more over fucking what's going on in the White House, a house that they will never go see, arguing over presidents that they will never meet, and talking and bickering over laws that they will never be able to change no matter what side they're on.
Yeah, it's shaking the
Makes no sense.
yeah, shaking the giant dance. That's all that is, and that's what they want because division. It's a Sun Tzu art of war tactic. It's divide and conquer.
Yep. And the sad part is it drags, because I was there. When I was driving truck, this was before I had gotten help, and this was in the stage where I was at, where I wasn't fucked up, everybody else is fucked up, and I wasn't on any medication, and I was suffering from depression and PTSD and everything else, and I had isolated myself into a semi truck 6 weeks at a time, just myself, and um, I wasn't a pleasant person to live with, and all I listened to was the news, and I was that guy, you know, and I learned real quick that all it does is it sends you even further down that rabbit hole, and it makes you even more depressed. So that's another reason why I don't have it on my show, because I know it's not healthy for the veteran community, especially if somebody that's already dealing with depression and anxiety. It just adds to.
Right. Now, it's healthy to seek out information, but you have to be so careful these days, who you're even getting information from because everything is just so slanted and, the mainstream media, like I said in my last episode, the mainstream media has lobotomized the entire population. This team of news is the only news I'll watch, or this team of news is the only news I'll watch. And it's being able to use critical thinking,
Yep.
whether you're doing homeland security or you're in special operations, whatever. You have to be able to use critical thinking and be able to ascertain and get intelligence, gather information, and you need to be able to decipher what's truthful and what's not truthful, because so many people just believe anything that they hear
Yeah.
without trusting what their instinct is telling them about what they're
Yep.
feeling is going on around them.
Yep. You know how many I had friends that would just post things from reading articles, you know, clickbait articles. They didn't even listen to the article, but they would reshare, and I would have to tell them that's fake. It's not even true.
Yeah, yeah.
And I'm just like, man, I wish you guys would just read stuff before you would just share it, because all you're doing is contributing. I said the moment you clicked on it, you already gave that person what he wanted. All he wanted was a click. I said, but then you shared it, and you're just making mass hysteria over shit that doesn't exist. You know, my mom, and I feel sorry for the elderly people, of this world, because my mom asks me probably 55 times a week, is this a scam or is this real? Do you know how many times she gets text messages from evidently the post office, FedEx, and UPS about a package that they have, and she needs to contact them, or it's going to get sent back. And I
That's
said, how do they have your phone number? I said, when
yeah,
was last?
hard selling.
You know, I said, it's a scam. I said, what did you order? Well, I didn't order anything. Well, then what package are you missing? It's a scam.
Yeah.
But
Well, it's kind of like you can't blame them, because we're living in a time when people can make themselves look like supermodels, you
yep,
know, on a 5-second reel, and then you see what they really look like, and you're like, "Whoa, whoa, that's a little different." Or somebody can make themselves sound amazing with auto tune or the right technology. It's like the only thing that is real is what's standing right in front of you, what's talking to you, what's tangible, what can you feel and and see with your own eyes.
yep. We had a coworker. It was so funny. She posted a picture that she had filtered, and another guy at work asked her. He said, "Man," he said, "that must have been some filter." And she said, "No, no, that wasn't a filter." He said, "Look," he said, "you filtered that so much that your nose disappeared."
Oh no.
And it did too. Her nose and everything had blended into her face. I just started laughing. But you're right. That's the world that we live in.
Have you seen the one with I think there's a Halloween one going around, and it's Freddy Krueger, and it's like a picture of Freddy Krueger. He's Freddy Krueger with the cheese looking face, and he's got the glove on with the knives coming out of it, and the hat, and the red and green sweater, and he looks terrifying. And then there's the exact same picture next to him, but he's been photoshopped and airbrushed on Snapchat or whatever, and they completely removed all the pizza. So he's just like smiling with his eyes with the glove with the knives in the air. Oh my god, I was so close to sharing that, and then I was like, "Oh man, that's pretty mean."
It's I mean, the stuff is comical, when you can sit back and laugh, but it isn't funny when somebody's getting hurt, and the scams and stuff that go out there do piss me off, you know. Have you seen
Yeah,
that podcast, or not podcast? He's got a YouTube channel. I seen him on the Sean Ryan show. I need to go back and dig up his name, because man, I would pay to have him come on my show. But he is doing he was a um and he became what he re I guess he reclaimed his name as a what does he call himself? Like a good hacker now. He uses a different.
Oh, the ethical hacker. Yeah, I saw that episode.
Yes, that
Yeah,
guy is doing some awesome work.
yeah, I forget his name, but the title of the episode on the Sean Ryan show is blah 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 ethical hacker or something like that.
Ethical hacker. Yes, that's it. Yes, he is going after pedophiles and everything. I mean, and he is good.
Have you seen the other guy that's doing that, Alex Rosen? Oh man.
Yeah.
I'm just going to drop his name and not even say anything else, but he just caused a big storm of something he did last weekend over on Twitter. So I'm not going to say anything about the story. I don't want to get you flagged or anything. But if you find that guy and what he's doing, he's like that other guy on the Sean Ryan show, like in HD. This guy is like, he's a he's a giant, like 6'5", red bearded Viking looking guy, and he's just slaying it right now. I'll just leave it at that. You'll have to look him up later.
Okay. Yeah.
But he's
Was
doing some new stuff.
was the ethical hacker was it scams that he does or was it child um
Yeah, he was trying to hack into different networks on the I think on the dark web, right?
yeah, that's what I thought. Yeah. Yeah, it was the dark web. Yep. Yep.
Yeah, to sort of try to dismantle some of the rings, that guy.
Yep. I couldn't remember if it was scams or because there's another guy out there that does just scams and like he'll hack in and he'll tell the people like all the way down to what cubicle they're sitting in the office overseas and their name and everything.
Yeah, actually, Lori Agneter, because from time to time I get contacted from different people where people come to me with a missing persons case, or they'll come to me, I had somebody else call me last week, to investigate a human trafficking thing, and I get I get random phone calls with different, sort of like consulting things. But Lori had called me and had asked me to look into something, and I was looking into it, and within 5 seconds, I see this giant phishing scam happening, and I'm like sending her a bunch of screenshots. But it was one of those like sad horrible things where there's a senior citizen who's widowed or older and no longer married, whatever the case may be, and somebody's pretending that they're this like silver fox veteran, that's just looking for love when it's really like, some hacker and, in Nigeria getting paid to do it or whatever. And then they're, oh, you're my wife. I love you. I just can't come to visit you right now. Send me $1,800. And the more I dug into this guy that Lori had sent me, I found like 30 women that were like, my husband, I love you. Look at this gorgeous man. And this whole thing was just, one big phishing scam.
Yep.
Just to clarify, it had nothing to do. Lori was not being scammed by this person, just to clarify.
Yeah. It just pisses me, you know. These people and most of them nothing ever happens to them. It's almost impossible to catch them, you know.
Yeah, and yeah, yeah, recently one of my friends too was looking back over their bank account and, oh, what is this? What is this charge? $70 a month, $70 a month to, a very basic name. Went to the bank with it, turned out to be like $1,500 worth of charges every month, $70, $70. And the bank was like, yeah, sorry, even though it's a scam, there's nothing we can do. Like, we can't refund you the money back, like especially with the way that the banks are right now. With
Yep.
it's another thing, the whole financial system is collapsing. We have 200 banks a week now closing,
Yep.
and the banks are like, sorry.
Yep. Absolutely.
Crazy.
Yeah, it is. It is. Well, Ace, I know I want you to be able to get some of your plugs in, and I know you had some things to do and wanted to be out by 8:45. tell everybody real quick, how they can watch the show. What's the best way, and if you got any websites and everything else.
Yeah, sure. The best way to find the podcast is my home base is over at Spotify. If you look up on Spotify, just Bulletproof, you'll find it underneath there with this logo that you see right here on the screen, the white and the black one. That's my home base is over at Spotify. But I do have on Spotify, I have seasons one, two, and three that are up there, and season four will be coming in January. And then on iHeartRadio, and Google Podcasts and Amazon Music. I have Bulletproof is up there as well. Season one isn't up there on those because they don't allow music from my season one for some reason. But Spotify is the best way to find me. Find me on Facebook as the Bulletproof Podcast. You can find me on Twitter. The Bulletproof Podcast is on Twitter and Truth Social as well. And yeah, kicking off season four in January. I'll be sending out invites. I know you'll be coming on the show. I'm so excited.
I can't wait. I can't wait. You're gonna
Dude,
have
when you,
too, right?
what's up?
You're gonna have Brian on there too, right?
Yes. So hands down, I know I'm inviting you. I know I'm inviting Brian Roof. I know I'm inviting Tom Edinger. And then I have seven surprise guests. So I have the list already written out, but I don't want to reveal all my secrets yet. But
I,
I'm so excited to sit down with you and Brian. I loved the episode. Brian recently posted an episode of you guys having a heart to heart. And when it got to the end of the episode, it said, "Oh, I can't wait for Hero Stock, man." And I was like, "Oh my gosh, this is such an old episode that he just posted." But I sat there for the whole episode and I was like, "Yes, this is awesome." I knew that you guys definitely were only revealing such a little sliver of this massive, experience that you both have been through. So I can't wait to have you on the show and to hear all about your background. And I know you got so much to I just can tell you have a lot to unload.
well, I appreciate it, and I am looking forward to it.
Well, keep that email refreshed and you'll be seeing your invite soon.
I can't wait. Everybody, y'all go over there, follow her on Spotify. When I upload this on Spotify, I will make sure that I also put your links in there. You can find it there if they don't catch it here.
And I just want to say thank you so much again, Donald Dunn and Gunroom Radio. And, what you're doing is so important. It's so selfless. You're promoting everybody. And it's so great to be connected to all of you guys and to be in this circle of awesome people, supporting veterans, supporting first responders. Because if we're going to talk about the downfall of America in this podcast, I want to end it on the spirit of America, the spirit of all of you veterans, all of us as first responders, the spirit of Americans and the spirit of resilience where we can make it through anything and we can bounce back.
Absolutely. This community, if you look at everybody and what they do, I don't I don't know any organization that accomplishes what everybody between the Contagion Effect and Tom with Every Second Counts and Brian with his podcast and Jason with Hero Talk. I mean, the list just goes on and on and on, and everything that they do out there. I mean, Brian he runs two. He's got his Every Day is a Saturday podcast, and then he's got Wacky Wednesdays, and he's bringing on one C's on plus interviews. So yeah, and he still takes the time out to help with the Gunroom Radio. Oh yeah,
Yeah,
it's
that's just so awesome. And I don't see anybody else. I don't see such a massive group of people working together in such a nice, awesome, friendly, and cohesive way like this group does. So we need like a name for this for this alliance. There needs to be like a name for it, like the Americans or like I don't know, something.
well,
I'll leave that to you guys.
not like the Redskins, and we change the name to the Commanders or something. We'll be good.
Oh, I like that. The Commanders. That's actually really good. Hashtag trademark Donald Dunn, the Commanders. You heard it here. Jason Steiner, make a t-shirt.
That's awesome.
So good talking to you. I can't wait to talk to you again in January.
Absolutely. I'm looking forward to it. You guys take care. Be safe, everybody. We will see you. I got another one coming up Wednesday. It's going to be a fun one. It's the first time I've ever had somebody that does this one. I'm not going to spoil it. So I've got to do a little bit of research because I don't know anything about this topic. So looking forward to it. Y'all take care.
Bye, everybody.